Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Zoro, and welcome to the Quant Financial Engineering podcast. And this time we are taking a little bit of a different direction, and I'm going to be speaking with Mehul Mehta. Mehul is a quant. He's a bit of an educator. He works. He's got a day job. But just like us, he's got a passion for quantitative finance, and the field is changing a lot. And let's have a discussion. Let's have a discussion around, first of all, the most obvious about quant education. So let me say hi to Mehul to begin with.
Hi, Prophet. Yeah,
And let me ask you the first question. Quant education, what is it?
right, sure. So first of all, I really want to thank Professor Zoho for this podcast. So basically, if you see all the terms that I used, financial engineering, quantitative finance, computational finance, right, or let's say financial mathematics, these all are the same. These all are the same. So let's say what is financial engineering, right? Or let's say what is quantitative finance? So it is a discipline which is the combination of finance, programming, economics, statistics, and mathematics. So these are the five pillars, I believe, for any financial engineering education. If you see all the courses that are being listed in the financial engineering, it will be a combination of all these five pillars.
So we have math,
Right.
we have finance,
hmm
eco,
Okay.
um, what else?
Statistics,
Statistics.
statistics, and
Yeah,
then programming.
coding/programming. So,
Right.
but math and stats, it's kind of
Yeah.
neatly okay.
Right.
But so let's talk about this, which I think is interesting. But they're not all equal.
Right. They are not equal.
So if you're a student, you say, "Hey, I like coding, I like programming. I want to be a
Right.
quant."
Right.
How do you just, well, let me just open a book, a math book, a finance book, and I'm ready to go? Is it easier? I guess my question is it easier for you if you're good in math to become a quant,
Mhm.
or if you're good in finance and become a quant, or if you're good in programming and become a quant? What is the learning curve
Right.
on the other subject matters to come up to speed, to become,
Right.
when I'm becoming, obviously going through the program, the graduate program, and then becoming a quant?
See, let's say the best background for a candidate will be, someone with a mathematical undergraduate, or let's say a programming undergraduate, a computer science undergraduate. So I believe like someone with these two background fits perfectly for a quantitative jobs. And again, like we should understand, let's say when someone from from the computer science discipline, when they want to go for a quant, then they can also target for quantitative developer roles. It is not that everyone enjoys building models. There's a team of quant researchers and quant analysts who tries to build the model, and then there's a team of quantitative developers who basically use C++ or some other languages to make sure that all these models are being are being implemented into production. So these are like different people with different background and different interests can target different roles in quant.
But my experience has been that if you like finance, to come up to speed with the level of math that you need, right, to do well in the quant program, it's a little bit more complicated, or not. It's a little harder for an MBA or a finance person to catch up with all the math, right, that they need.
Um, Professor Zoro, I'm so sorry. I actually
So the question is, how much work is involved for a finance person to catch up with the math?
you mean like okay,
Is it
can you
more, is it more
elaborate that?
difficult? Because, you know, the way you're describing it, you say, oh, you need five things. You need math, you need stats, economic, finance. And it's kind of like, okay, so as long as, if I don't know finance, I could catch up on the math. And it's hard, and it's very difficult to have an undergraduate degree with all five.
Right, right.
So,
Okay.
and basically what you're telling me is that the math
Mm-hmm.
and the coding for you is key, which I would agree. I mean, at least the math, because, you know, in the program, we don't teach coding.
Right,
Students pick it up on their own. The math, on the other
right, right,
hand, it's a little more difficult to catch up to. And plus, you have to have the mind for it as well.
right. Mhm. So I feel like the best way to go for that is there are a lot of online courses. Let's say if someone is coming from a let's say non-technical background, someone from a commerce background, or someone from a finance or economics background, right? So like for them, I believe if they want to learn mathematics, or let's say if they are planning to come into quant, I believe like there are two, three subjects which they should heavily focus on. That is calculus level 1, calculus level 2, and I feel linear algebra is something that they should really focus on.
So calculus 1, 2, and linear algebra. Yes,
Right.
makes
So
total sense.
if they have all those, so if they have these, someone, let's say from an economics degree, right? If they understand the concepts of calculus level 1, calculus level 2, and let's say linear algebra, then when they come for a master's program, they have a lot of things sorted because let's say when the professor teaches you stochastic calculus or financial mathematics, there's a lot of calculus involved in deriving all these mathematical equations. So someone with no background in calculus will, the whole concept will feel very intimidating because they do not know like how the steps are evolving. So I feel someone who's not from a quant background, or let's say not from a technical background, if they pursue these mathematical courses, it will be really helpful for them.
What about the profile now? Okay, so you're a student, you've done some math, or you've done some finance, or you've done some coding. What about the profile of a student, the mindset of the student to become a quant? What do you think is a qualifier in
Right.
terms of a
Okay.
profile? What kind of person should you be to become a quant?
See, I feel like most of the cons, they of course like deal with numbers. So someone who enjoys working with numbers, or let's say someone who, when I say numbers, it can be any finance data. So someone who enjoys building model around the finance data, I feel like, or let's say someone who enjoys, a bit of programming, and let's say a bit of finance, and a bit of solving mathematics, then I feel like this is the perfect area. Because let's say if you see other roles in the quant industry, like the market risk position, credit risk position, validation, risk validation positions, or let's say quant modeler, all these positions, they do not require very heavy mathematics. Of course, you should understand the concept, but in day to day, let's say if you go for a validation role, I believe like the day-to-day more look like, making sure that you can validate, you can understand the statistical concept, and using that you can validate. So just to summarize, someone who enjoys a bit of programming, numbers, and he has like very high inclination towards finance, because all the quants they work for the financial institution. I believe like they will be perfect fit for this.
So you brought up institution, you brought up jobs. So what do we mean when we say a quant job? What
Uh,
what are we
so
talking?
right. So basically, a quant job basically means that, let's say, uh, just for very, if I want to clear, if I want to say in simple word, basically a quant will be building mathematical or statistical models for the financial institution. This is what in simple word quant means. He will be building, or let's say he'll be validating some models. And that is what, if you see most of the people, quant analysts, quant researchers, right? What they work, if you see the day-to-day work, what they do is mostly building models, quantitative models.
So they basically building algorithm either to predict stock
Right,
market price, stock prices, um, movements or whatever,
right,
fluctuation. You're basically trying to predict. I mean, some of my but yeah, I mean, some of my students end up working for a hedge fund, but at the end of the day, you or a prop trading firm, you basically try to predict. You're trying to you're still building a model. So I see what you mean. At the end of the day, you need to, but that sounds boring, right? All you're doing is you're building a model, but it's more exciting than that, right? It is because you're dealing with lots of different things, lots of different
right,
topics.
right.
So
So
make it
yeah.
exciting for them. I mean,
So the thing is, see, when like the most common thing that people, the most common perception that people think quant does is predicting the stock market, and that is not just the only thing. I mean, of course, I understand people. There are some quants who actually work on the quantitative model stuff for predicting, how the stocks will behave in future. But that is not the only thing. I'll give you certain examples. Let's say, so while I was working at my previous employer, liquidity was a concern that few months back, because there are like major banks like Silicon Valley Bank, it got failed, right? So liquidity became a concern, right? So I mean, for a bank, liquidity is such a big thing. Like if the depositors are pulling all the money out from the bank is in, it's such a tough situation for the bank, right? So what the bank has to do, let's say what the liquidity head has to do, he has to predict how the balances will look like in the future. So while I was working at that position, the liquidity head came to me, the head of liquidity came to me, and he asked me if I can develop some quantitative models for different products that they have, right? And for me, it took like, I guess, 3 to 5 months to develop different models, like for different categories like that the bank offers to the depositors. See, it's just that when the situations are tough, this kind of role becomes very interesting, because now everyone is reaching out to you. You are become the go-to person for anything technical. So I believe it's just not predicting the stock market. You have a lot of things. So yeah.
no, I mean, that's true. I mean, I have projects right now where students are working at looking, and we'll talk about ChatGPT and large language model, but they're looking at essentially predicting what the Fed is going to say next.
Hmm. Hmm.
What's in a 10K?
Right.
And what does it really mean? What is a company trying to do? Yeah, some of them are working on algorithm to predict the stock market and certain stock prices, but you're right. There's a lot of interesting things, and that's why I think when students join a program like a master in financial engineering or financial mathematics, they're not coders, they're not programmers, right?
Right.
They are seekers of truth. I mean, they're all over the place, literally. They are thinking and looking at items that are not there yet.
Hmm.
Um, and now, obviously, what about what about let's look forward down the line a little bit. What about the advent of large language models and Chat GPT and all that? How do you think? Because you didn't mention anything about ChatGPT or large language model in terms of the categories, right? Um,
Right.
how is that going to change the field? What do you
Right.
think?
See, okay, so let me first speak about artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence is like divided into three parts. One is towards the machine learning neural networks. The second field is towards the natural language processing, And then the third discipline for artificial intelligence is, I guess, object detection, like if you see how objects are being detected. So I feel like this whole machine, this the concept of AI, it's revolving so fast. I just read a news few weeks back that Bloomberg is coming with its own large language model. So I believe, like, now companies, they will, all the, let's say, all the organizations, they will be having a large language model of their themselves, right? So I believe like this space is very interesting, and I see like a lot of good opportunities. People who have like let's say experience of large language models, or let's say natural language processing, I feel like this areas, will have a lot of exciting opportunities coming in future.
What about quantum computing? How is that going?
Um,
Was it too soon yet?
So I feel the discipline of quantum computing, I mean, it's of course it will go big, but right now it's at a very starting stage. So I feel like as of now, like I see not, I mean, of course there are opportunities with quantum computing, but at least how I see that is it is at a very beginning stage. So it will grow. Definitely, the concept is exciting. It will grow in future, but as of now, I see more opportunities in the quant space. So
No, no, definitely. And I think that what we've seen in the past is that, I mean, to be a good quant student, you need to be a quick learner, but you have to be a curious student, right? You need to really, because you have to be willing to learn. It's more than just going through the classes and the curriculum. You need to be curious.
right. And like I feel like the projects that you mentioned, right? I feel like I believe like having projects in your resume related to, let's say, credit risk, market risk, as you said, large language models, machine learning, algorithm trading, or portfolio optimization. These are some projects that if you have in your resume, that actually will make your resume more attractive to the employer. So yeah, like I believe like if students can work on all these projects, um, they have a higher chances of getting in.
Yeah, because employers more and more, they don't want to train you anymore.
Right,
That's why they have a lot of my students got jobs after they did the internship. Then they were hired for the internships. But they don't, in the past, they would train you and they do a bunch of different things. But now they want you to already be operational, from the get-go. And frankly, there's no reason not to. There's lots of online efforts, there's YouTube channels, there's lots of things to put it together to help you really, if you really
right.
want to do it.
Also, I feel like, see, and if you think from an employer perspective, they definitely value the theoretical knowledge that they have, that you have about different subjects. But what they really want is you should actually be able to, let's say, implement those subjects, or let's say those topics in real world, and you should understand how in real world things changes. I'll just give you a very small example. Let's say when we price derivative, we take an example, we assume that there's a risk neutral environment, right? But when when we come in the real time, interest rates are just rising, right? And that actually changes the whole dynamics of your portfolio. So it's good to have the theoretical knowledge, but I feel at the same time you should actually understand how different, let's say, if interest rates are rising, how will that impact your portfolio? Or let's say, because there are a lot of quantitative models that different banks use or different financial institution uses. So what changes you have to do in the model to capture the recent market data or something like that. So I feel like it's good to have the theoretical knowledge, but you should also understand how to implement that in the real world, and that can be best done using the projects that you do in your masters.
Great. So, thank you very much for your time. I think we've
Sure.
kind of gone around the topic a bit. Um, I want to let everyone know that you do have a channel,
Right.
a YouTube channel. That everybody should start looking at it. It's starting to pile up a little bit with subscribers, which is always good. And you work in the field, which is fantastic because you could always be a go-to person to. Interesting enough, students and more people are interested in this field
Right.
because it's changing fast
Right.
via the language of mathematics. So I want to, Mehul, I want to thank you very much for your time.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Zoro, and I wish you a great day ahead.
Thank you.